Welcome to Powerhouse with Coach Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.
So, Doctor, welcome to SSBC Powerhouse with Coach Maker. Just to begin with, you had a rough political journey, resigning as a Minister of Agriculture after the 2016 war and leaving the country in 2020 due to something we call lack of political will to implementation of peace agreement. So what motivated your return to South Sudan as of last year?
Well, thank you very much, the interviewer, and I also take this opportunity to greet the viewers of SSBC and thank the administration for having thought about looking for other opinions on what is going on in the country. First of all, I did not leave the country in the sense of cutting relations. I actually was solving an immediate problem. At that time, we had just come after the peace agreement, and a number of us don't have houses in Juba. In fact, even when I was before the war, my contact with Juba was poor. I got my studies all in Upper Nile and Khartoum. So at that time, we didn't have where to stay. We were staying in hotels. Then there were difficulties of meeting the obligations. And time and again, we get harassed by the hotel authorities. So I took permission that since I'm doing no work here, and I have accommodation in Khartoum, so I would go with, of course, given the advantage of technology these days. So I was following events very closely there, together with my party and other colleagues in SUA. And this is evidenced by the fact that when major things happen, we were always reacting to them. So we were not isolated. Maybe the distance was the only difference, but the fact that we were following events closely, we were taking part in shaping them.
Doctor, you formed the Democratic Change Party, and then later on you left it. It's still operating, and now we have the National Democratic Movement. Why did you leave the Democratic Change and you chose this one?
It's very obvious, because when I resigned in 2016, the NDM had a military wing. So if I were to go in the name of the democratic change and having a military wing, it was going to endanger the lives of others who have remained here, because the law prohibits any party from having a military formation. So it was to save lives of those who were still in the democratic change that we had to come up with a new name. But essentially, most of the people were those who were in the democratic change.
National Democratic Movement Party, what are your driving goals for this party?
Driving goals are that, first of all, as the name suggests, we are for democratic transformation of the country. And when we talk of national, we talk of the National Democratic Revolution. That was what is initially. now that we have chosen to follow democratic means, okay, then we are supposed to achieve those objectives through democratic means, which is like following the precepts of democracy. Now, how do we bring about transformation? We have a program that deals with how do we deal with the economy. We don't believe in a free market economy that is open for all. We believe that the government has a role in controlling the economy. We believe that the government has a role to have a social net to the people. You know, you don't say that, well, let people compete. Whoever doesn't have, you know, suffers. There must be a national health service for our people.
How do you intend to achieve this?
I intend to achieve them through elections. Our party will go for elections in order to win seats, you know, so that we implement the program. Nobody can implement the program outside government. So all these things we want to be done, you know, can only be done when we go for elections. Either we win an absolute majority or we get into coalition with other parties in order to form a government.
You're talking of election. Is your party ready to challenge the incumbent at the ballot box?
We're not challenging anybody, or not anybody is challenging us. We are competing because we are in the field together. Each of us has the urge and the desire to represent the people. At the end of the day, it is the people who will choose who will serve them better.
Okay, talking of every political parties, they are ready or they are set, or they have that right to go to the ballot.
Yeah.
We have seen SPLM has been the one conducting endorsement rallies. When is your party starting their own?
Well, in the first place, we are implementing a peace agreement. Our election is not in a vacuum. This election is a part of the implementation process.
Yes, but you are implementing it with the same SPLM,
yes,
and on the other end, they are also doing the rallies.
There is no free space for everybody. So how can you be able to come and present? And this is why we are talking about inter-party dialogue. We need to have dialogue as political parties to chart the way for the elections.
Talking of no free space for everyone, how are they controlling? Who is behind that?
Well, you are not a foreigner here in this country. You know that even your own activity, if you want to do certain activities, to get permission. So why would I get permission when I am a recognized political parties that have to address people? Yeah.
How soon do you see it will happen?
This is why we want the dialogue to take place, so that we agree on how to proceed for the elections.
Okay, upon your arrival, when you returned to South Sudan last year, you expressed hope in accelerating implementation of peace deal.
Absolutely. Yes.
Can you update us on the progress of this implementation?
The peace agreement has timelines, what we call the matrix. Every activity was given a time period within which it will be implemented. And all these activities should end with the elections. After having done all that, 60 days before the end of the transitional period, we go for elections. And therefore, the elections is tied with the implementation process. The implementation process did not go according to plan because there was lack of political will. Okay? There was lack of political. This is why, from the beginning, the pre-transition, which was supposed to be 8 months, became 17 months and 10 days, you see. The interim period, which was supposed to be 3 years, it was extended to become 5 years. And now people are debating whether election will be held or people talk of delaying the elections. So the political will was not there. Now when we came, remember it was 17 months before to December when I came. So we came with a clear program that, look, 17 months we can do something if we stick to a strict timetable. And we listed things that we think should be done. One of them is this free space, civic and political space to be widened. The question of, you know, some people are chased away when they go to certain areas. IO was chased away in Rumbek and Wil. SPLM-IG was chased away in Fanjak. So this cannot be an atmosphere for elections. We suggested that let us have joint delegations of all the parties to go to these places and explain to them that election is a right of everybody. So there's nobody who has the right to prevent somebody from talking. Let the person talk. If you don't want the program he's talking about, you vote otherwise. We also mentioned that there were certain institutions that must be put in place if the elections have to happen. One of them is the political parties council, the National Election Commission, the National Constitutional Review Commission. Okay. Also, the agreement talked about judicial reform. So there was a committee for judicial reform that was still working. The agreement agreed that there should be a constitutional court independent from the Supreme Court in order to deal with the constitutional issues. You know, the agreement talked about a unification of the forces. In fact, the pre-transition of 8 months was done specifically so that the unification of forces is completed within 8 months. It couldn't. The 8 months became 17 months and 10 days is also couldn't. Because we agreed that the forces must be united before the beginning of the transitional period. For a good reason. A country cannot have more than one army, more than one police. It must be, this is the symbol of sovereignty of the country, the army. Also, if you are talking of elections, and you go to election with different armies, this is, you know, a recipe for disaster. Because if a group that have an army loses election and they don't recognize it, will it not go to violence? You see? So this thing is very critical, that we must have a unified force before we go for election. So these things that we enumerated, okay, there were timelines for them. We said if we do them, the estimate we gave was that in less than 5 to 6 months they will all be done, except two. The two are the census and the constitution making. We said that let the parties meet to decide on these two issues. If we think that they are so critical for election cannot be done without them, then we say in all sincerity that we cannot do election in December, because they take 24 months, and by then it was 17 months left, which means we'll need 7 months more. But we say there are other alternatives. That we can explore those alternatives, and we go for election in December. This was our position.
In your own opinion, what or who do you think is delaying this implementation process? Since that you are saying in 2020 it was lack of political will. What about now?
Up to now, there's still lack of political will. But I can't pinpoint who, because all of us are responsible for the implementation of the peace agreement. Yeah. All of us are responsible. We are partners in the implementation of the peace agreement. Failure of one party is a failure of all of us. Yeah.
And the same parties now are saying they're going for general elections in December 2020.
Not all the parties. Not all the parties. Some parties are saying that the election cannot be held now. Others are saying the election must be held now. A third opinion is saying that election can be held provided all of us sit down and discuss what are the necessary steps that need to be taken.
All right.
And this is our point of view. Point of view as SWA, point of view as NDM. We are saying let the parties to the peace agreement sit down and have dialogue among them to chart a way forward for conducting the elections.
So your party wants the dialogue with the other one before accepting the election to go ahead?
The dialogue is only conditional with election. No, the dialogue is about elections. How do we end the transition with elections? We must agree on it, all of us. Yeah.
Right.
Because it is us who signed the peace agreement in 2018. So it is also, and also it is us who extended the transitional period in August 2022. It is only us who will decide on when will the election be held.
And it is the same you who are delaying the implementation of the peace?
The parties.
Yes, you as parties, you are the same people delaying the implementation.
This is why we need to talk. Why are we delaying it?
Yeah. Dear viewer of SSBC, we are taking a short break inside here. It's LAM Ajawin, who is here with us to talk about his political party, how they are preparing for the elections, and we have heard from him. He came back to take part in speeding up the implementation of the peace agreement. So far, the parties, there are some provisions that have not actually been met or have been put in place. So let's hear from him after the break. What are the next steps after this?
Welcome to Powerhouse with Coach Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.
Hello, dear viewer of SSBC. Welcome back after that short break. Like I said, we are here with Dr. Lam Akol, who is here to talk about his party, National Democratic Movement, political party. So you are back to the country, and as the chairperson of the National Democratic Movement, what actions are you taking to ensure political unity and reduce differences among your people in the party?
First of all, like in other political parties, we have institutions that are working. We have the National Leadership Council, which is the highest political organ between congresses. Then we have the National Executive Committee, and we have the Secretariat. We have Youth Wing, or Youth League, and we have Women League. We have committees that are formed in order to accommodate the members in policy making. They debate the issues that are being raised. So these institutions are in place, and they are the ones that are helping the National Executive Committee with formulating the policies. There are committees on economic affairs, they study the economic situation, the declining economy, the inflation, the dwindling South Sudanese pound, and suggest solutions as what to do with that. We have a political committee, we have a media committee, we call it communication committee, and so forth. 10 of them, 10 committees. So we are preparing for the elections, and the election demands a number of things. First of all, we must have a program, an election program as a party. So that program is developed by all the organs of the movement on the national and state level. We have party branches in all the 10 states and the 3 administrative areas. So we developed that program of the parties, and of course it gets renewed every now and then as things develop, because the program must express the day-to-day things that are happening in the country. So we are developing that. We are also preparing for the registration of the party. The party is supposed to register at least 500 members in not less than 2/3 of the 10 states and the 3 administrative areas.
So when are you intending to do the registration?
We wanted to register in January.
Next year?
Last year.
Oh.
But the political party council put an impossible condition that we must pay, first $50,000 US, and second, when we go to the final stage, we pay another $25,000 US.
So you paid
Of course, we protested. We protested because this is so unreasonable for 2 main reasons. The first one is that there is no law on which it is based. In 2015, when the first registration happened, the law was complemented by the regulations. And the regulations are the one that specify the fees. And the fees were specified as 20,000 SSP. And this is what the money that was paid by the parties that are registered now.
That was in
2015.
Yes.
Yes, 20,000 SSP.
You see the
Yes.
current 20,000 by then in 2015, and now it's 2024.
No problem.
The money
But
has no value.
no problem. But you must amend the law.
Okay.
You cannot just impose something in a vacuum. So, what the political parties council should have done is to amend those regulations that talk of 20,000 and put whatever reason amount that they decide to be. So that is one reason for us to object. The second reason is that why are you using a foreign currency in South Sudan? And you are a government organ. The laws says that we must deal in SSP. Even last time, the economic cluster reissued this ruling again that we must use the local currency, because when you use foreign currency, it means that you are encouraging inflation. So that was the second reason why we objected.
Okay, then.
So we could not go ahead because we wrote a petition to them on the 15th of March. Yes, 15th of March, last March. Feedback? Up to the 15th of April, no response. So we wrote to the minister. We wrote to the minister because if we want to raise a case, we must inform the minister because he is the chief legal advisor of the government. He must be informed. So we inform him that we are going to raise a case against the political parties council in a week, you see, so that he's not surprised. Now the minister made homework. Of course, they have a legal advisor there. They said, and they came out with a ruling to reply our letter. The letter we wrote to them, they replied it back to us and said, these fees are null and void. So the political parties should have been bound by that decision. And that law says any decision taken by the ministry is binding on all government organs. But the PPC doesn't seem to be impressed. So this is where we are stuck now. We'll see how this thing works out.
Okay, you are stuck with the
registration.
With the registration.
Yes, but otherwise we are preparing our people for elections at any time. Whenever people decide that election will be on this date or that date, then we'll show that we are found ready.
Do you think you people can go for election without registration? Is it possible?
As a party, we cannot go for election without registration. But as individual, we can, because the law allows people to go for elections as independents. So if whoever is behind this chairman of the political parties council, if he thinks that is blocking us out, it will only be partial.
Okay, from the implementation of peace agreement to the political parties registration fee, what do you see as the main obstacle hindering the electoral process, and what steps should be taken actually to overcome these challenges?
The electoral process is a political thing. People think that it is the National Election Commission that decides everything. This is not true. They must have the political direction. And the political directions comes from the parties to the agreement. And the parties to the agreement committed themselves to do certain things to prepare the ground for election, to create a conducive atmosphere for the elections. And these things were not done, are not done up to today. They have not been done. So we as parties to the peace agreement must sit down and see how to get them done so that we go for elections.
Do you see any possibilities?
It is not the National Election Commission to decide on its own. This is one thing. The second thing is that the National Election Act, which is the law guiding the National Election Commission, have put certain timelines to do certain things. All right? Now these timelines, some of them have passed. So how will you solve that?
Yes, that timeline is also
like for example, the registration of voters, should have been completed 6 months before the election, yes, not the registration, not the start. Yeah. Because when you register voters, you publish their names, you open the space for people to challenge some of the names. Somebody may say this person.
But this is a delay.
Then at the end of the day, when these things have all been done and a final list is published, this should have been 6 months before the elections.
But you see, the delay is as a result of you, the political parties, because they are waiting for your final decision.
This is what I'm saying. We agree. we are not stuck. It is just because some people don't see the urgency of having the political
Why?
dialogue.
Is it because they are protecting the positions? Or what?
This impression people have. People, the common man on the streets now believes that we in the government of national unity, we don't want to relinquish power. We want to stay in power by extensions.
That is what they are saying actually. And it seemed to be right.
If it is not right, then we must quickly sit down and resolve this issue. How do we prepare for elections?
Do you have any plan to run for presidency in the upcoming elections?
A leader of any party, no, a leader of any party aspires to contest the highest office in the land.
Okay, in
Yes.
short, are you going to contest for presidential seat?
If we decide when will the election be held, then we'll see as a party, we'll hold what we call the national convention of the party, and that party, then that one will decide what will the party do. Are we going to contest in all the seats, or we are contesting some of the seats? It is not my decision. It is a decision of my party.
You're asking where is election, but according to what we have heard from the political parties, from the council, from the National Election Commission, the election is to take place in December. That's what I heard, and that's what we all know under the ground.
But some people say no. Yeah. What is the answer? Some people say no, some people said yes.
But the public
How will
say
it be
yes.
resolved?
But the public
Who
wants
asked the
election.
public?
We media.
Where were you asked?
I've been going all over, and the public, their opinion is that they are tired, they need
opinion,
election.
Yours is not a sample opinion. The people you go to are a limited, section of the society.
They are
You go
not.
to the intellectuals. You go to the
I've
political
gone.
party leaders. You go to the
I've gone
the people in the
actually.
press.
Actually, I've done this,
Do you have
but
any
only
statistics?
only the political parties that are having other answers.
Do you have any statistics?
I have, yes,
What sample?
for the public.
What sample did you use?
Anyway, we keep it for the next time, but so far we know that the public really want election. What reasons they're giving is that
Even myself also, I am convinced that the public
now
wants
that-
election.
okay.
Even us as a party, we want elections, isn't it? But elections have requirements. They have requirements.
Okay, doctor. Let me ask you, as somebody who has been in the struggle history of Sudan to South Sudan, the economic situation now of South Sudan, how do you see it in the next 5 years? Any change for better or for worse?
If we win election, then we can change for the better.
But
But you are talking.
you see, now you have accepted election.
No, I've said.
If you win election,
elections.
election is not.
You see the problem between my understanding and yours. You think that election can only be carried out in December.
No.
Yeah, but I'm saying, whatever time people decide to hold elections, election will be held, isn't it?
But,
and then everybody will contest.
Yes, but the limited time that I've said is 5 years, in the next 5 years. Yeah. So it could be election in December or election in the other years.
Definitely there will
Yes.
be election.
So if
there will be election within the next 5 years. There's
So
no doubt about that.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you are saying there will be election within that 5 years, and it is only election that will change the economic situation?
The
what you're
election
saying?
will change the government, and the election will change the policies. So whoever goes,
So if you win as
whoever
who-
goes
as-
for elections will give policies. These I not tell you before that we are developing a program. That program is what we tell the people that look, if you elect us, this is what we will do. On economy, we'll try to lower inflation. We'll try to strengthen the South Sudanese pound. We are trying to have production. We are going to concentrate on agriculture because this is the mainstay of our people. We use the oil resources to support agriculture. We are going to build infrastructure. We are going to improve the transport. All these things we are going to tell the people. If they elect us, we do them. Yeah. It's a commitment.
So it's a commitment if they elect you as National Democratic Movement.
Yes.
You will do this one, and the economic definitely will change.
I'm saying that it will definitely change.
Yeah,
but
no, that is what you are hoping.
Yes,
it
will
will change.
Yes, can change.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how you think is how you will also implement the agenda so that it change. Let's say that the agendas that you have put in place so that the economic situation change.
Agendas are implemented by the government.
Yes, and you are the one coming as that government according to your statement. If you win election as National Democratic Movement, you will change a certain. All right, Doctor, you have come to South Sudan. You have been here almost a year. So your supporters by then, they were asking, where is Dr. Lam? Where has he gone? Has he run away? No, on social media.
What I was telling you.
No, on social media.
You were talking about that there were differences
no.
in the party.
Let me finish.
Any political party.
Let me finish.
Okay.
The supporters are all over. We are on social media. We are everywhere. So some of them even published articles by then. Where is Dr. Lam? Why has he left the country? Why is he leaving his supporters behind? What can we say about him leaving the country? So now that you are back to the country, what message do you have for them?
What I want to tell you is that supporters are not the same as members of the party.
Yeah.
We are talking
about
the members of the parties knew where I was and what I was.
We are no longer with your party now. We are with the supporters.
Yes, okay.
The citizen.
The supporters.
Yes.
The supporters have the right to know, and this is why we are saying we develop a program. That program is for the supporters and for the prospective supporters, because we want the people to join us on the basis of that program. So what we are telling them is what we are telling you, that we are now engaged as a political party to prepare the road for elections, because that is a turning point that will determine how do we, position ourselves in the coming period. If you don't have members in parliament, how will you be able to articulate policies? It is parliament that passes the law. It is the parliament that decides on constitutions, all these things. So we are preparing ourselves to be part of the next process, which is election. And you don't go to elections to lose. You go to elections to win. So we are hoping that when we go to elections, we are going to win.
Dear viewer of SSBC, that brings us to the end of our interview, where we were talking to Dr. Lam Akol about his political party since he came back to South Sudan. That is after 3 years since he went to Sudan. So that's all we have heard from him. His party is preparing for election, whether in the next 5 years or even 10 years, they are there. And the mission is that they should one day rule the country. And in that case, they are hoping they will change the economic situation once they run the government. That's all we have for you on SSBC Powerhouse with Akuch Maker.
Welcome to Powerhouse with Akuch Maker, your weekly engagement into the heart of the nation's political and economic pulsation. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on SSBC television. This is Powerhouse, where realization meets empowerment, just on SSBC television.